Welcome to the Dementia Hero Podcast, where we turn the chaos of caregiving into confidence, compassion, and joy. I'm your host, Amy Moorhead, a nurse practitioner, dementia educator, and former full-time caregiver. And I know firsthand how devastating this disease can be, how it can shake your world, steal your sense of self, and leave you wondering if life is ever going to feel normal again. But you know, I've also been on the other side. I've walked this road, and I now have a map to guide you through it. You don't have to lose yourself in this journey. So take a deep breath, grab a cup of coffee, and let's walk this journey together. Because you, my friend, are a dementia hero. Let's get started. Have you ever been so scared you couldn't even see straight? Your hands won't even function. Your fingers feel like they don't even belong to you. And your brain short circuits like someone just yanked the power cord out of your brain. That's fight or flight mode. I always explain it to my patients like this. It's like having a tiger on your tail. Picture this. You're walking in the jungle, and why you're in the jungle, I haven't a clue. I don't know, but just stay with me here. And suddenly a tiger steps out from behind a bush. Its eyes lock on you. And in that moment, your entire body recalibrates for survival. Your vision narrows so you can see far ahead, looking for an escape route. Your heart rate spikes, pumping blood to your big muscles, giving you the strength to run. Your breathing speeds up, pulling in more oxygen to fuel your escape. Your digestive system shuts down because your body doesn't care much about lunch. It cares about not becoming lunch. And this can result in diarrhea. I'm sorry, I just got to say it. And your fine motor skills disappear because delicate finger movements aren't useful when you're running for your life. And now here's the kicker. This is what happens when you're in panic mode. And that's exactly what was happening to me. I was in full-blown panic mode. My mother, a highly intelligent, articulate woman who could talk circles around anyone, could captivate a whole entire room. She didn't know where she was. She didn't know what a fork was, how to use a fork. And she couldn't form a sentence that made any sense at all. And she looked at me, eyes wide, searching for an anchor. And I froze. But worse than that, I kept repeating in my head, I can't do this. I cannot do this. I can't. There I stood, frozen. The woman who had spent a lifetime teaching me, guiding me, being the rock of wisdom and advice. The woman that once debated politics with fire in her eyes. The woman who could out-talk, out-think, and out-maneuver anyone in a conversation. The woman who held my hand through every heartbreak or every tough decision. Didn't know where she was. She sat there, eyes darting around the room like a stranger in her own home. Her fingers hovered over the plate in front of her, confused by the sight of a fork. And her lips parted, trying to form words, but all that came was a jumbled mess of syllables that made no sense. And then she looked at me. Wide, searching eyes, like a child lost in a crowd, scanning desperately for a familiar face. And it was me. And in that moment, I failed her. I feel like I failed her because she was searching my face for an anchor, for some kind of reassurance that she was safe. And I had nothing to give her. I felt the floor drop out from underneath me. The breath was caught in my chest, and I was in full-blown panic mode. And not just panicky, but I was devastated. And I know you all have been in these moments. You all have felt those same exact feelings in your own moments. And not only do we feel panicky, and devastated, but something worse even happens. Doubt. Doubt sets in. We doubt that we have what it takes to be enough. We doubt that we even are enough. We doubt that we can show up for them, that we can be strong enough for them when they're searching for a familiar face and it's ours. We doubt that we can guide them in these terrifying moments. And all I could do was stand there, drowning in my own panic, whispering to myself, I can't do this. I was failing her. And I've never felt more small or helpless or unworthy than I did in that moment. And how in the hell is that going to help me at all in this moment? And let me ask you, how often do we do that to ourselves? How often, in the middle of chaos, do we convince ourselves that we're going to fail? Your brain believes whatever you tell it. You know, Mel Robbins, I love her podcast. If you have not started listening to Mel Robbins, look up Mel Robbins' podcast, and she will speak truth into your day and truth into you. You know, she says your brain is always listening. And if you tell it, I can't do this, it'll look for proof that you're right, and it's going to prove it to you. Marie Forleo, someone else, a thought leader that I follow, she built an entire movement on one phrase. Everything is figure-outable. And I'll tell you something, they're both right. The moment you shift your thoughts, the moment you shift your language, what you say to yourself, you shift your whole entire reality. So there I was standing in full-blown panic, and I was programming my mind to believe I couldn't handle it. And as long as I kept repeating that to myself, I wouldn't be able to. So I stopped. I forced myself to take a few steps back, take 3 deep breaths. My heart rate slowed, my breathing steadied, my vision cleared, and suddenly my fingers started working again. Before I go any further, let me just own something right now. I'm a science nerd, like a full-blown science nerd. I enjoy all of it. And what we're talking about right now is the autonomic nervous system. So we're going to break this down. Remember the whole tiger on your tail scenario, right? Well, that's your sympathetic nervous system kicking into gear. And your amygdala, your brain's overzealous security alarm, doesn't stop to ask, is this an actual emergency or not? Nope, it doesn't ask that. It assumes the worst, it slams that panic button, and sends your body into full survival mode. But, you know, there is no tiger. It's just a panic mother looking for an anchor in me, looking for me to be her anchor. And I'm just spiraling. So how do you shut off that overactive security alarm? You engage your parasympathetic nervous system. That's your built-in antidote to fight or flight. That's your rest and digest mode. So if sympathetic nervous system is your gas pedal, your parasympathetic nervous system is the brake pedal. And the fastest way to slam on that brake? Deep breaths. So I did just that. I took 3 slow, deep breaths. And it's been proven that you can go from sympathetic to parasympathetic nervous systems with just 60 seconds of deep breathing. So like one of my husband's favorite movies, Gone in 60 Seconds. Well, so can your panic attack if you go into deep breathing. So just remember that. In your nose, out your mouth. Slow, deep breaths. Do this for 60 seconds, and you will trigger that parasympathetic nervous system. You will get yourself out of fight or flight. And I did just that. My wisdom returned to my brain, I guess, for the most part. And I remembered that her brain was failing. And she wasn't going to change. She's changing, a change that she hasn't asked to happen to her. But she can't herself change out of this. So I had to change. So after deep breathing, I pulled a chair up beside my mother. I picked up a fork, placed her hand over mine. So here I am. I'm sitting to her. She's right-handed, or she was right-handed. I'm sitting on her right, and she's looking straight, and I'm pulled up to her side. Okay. I take my right hand. I pick up her fork. I put her right hand over mine, and I gently guide the fork to her mouth. And see, with dementia, they don't just forget facts, they struggle with sequence. Starting an activity, going through all the steps of the activity, stopping it, and moving on. And so she needed help with initiating that activity of eating. And the first step was recognizing that the fork is just a shovel to make it to your mouth, to get food to your mouth. So I had her fork in my hand. I had her hand over my hand, and I guided the fork to her mouth. And as soon as I did that activity, the initiating the activity of eating, her brain remembered the sequence. And she took over, and she started feeding herself again. And so this same initiating activities can be repeated in any type of situation where they're having a hard time remembering the sequence of an activity. Say brushing your teeth. You walk in, they're standing in front of the sink. Their toothbrush is on the countertop, and you can tell they're kind of befuddled on what to do next. Instead of saying, pick up the toothbrush, put toothpaste on it, put it in your mouth, move it back and forth. Instead of saying the steps, just help initiate the steps. And once you help initiate that, the brain can remember the sequence and it will take over. So in this same instance with the toothbrush, you will take her toothbrush in your hand, put her hand over yours, put toothpaste on it, and start bringing it to her mouth. And she may just grab the toothbrush from you and take over. Score! Great. Perfect. That's a great example of how you can use this. So think about that today when you're caring for your loved ones. And remember, you're going to panic. It's normal. It's your brain is wired. Our brain is wired for survival. And that amygdala wants to engage that sympathetic nervous system by slamming on that panic button. Remember, you've got the key. You've got the brake pedal. You can stop that from happening. Slow, deep breathing really is an antidote to that. And it engages that parasympathetic nervous system. It's all scientific. And when you choose how you want to respond, you shift from reaction, instinctual reaction, to responding with wisdom and intention. You want to shift away from instinctual reaction and into responding with wisdom. And if you ever find yourself spiraling, feeling like you're going to lose it, remember, there's no tiger. Breathe, step back, recalibrate, and then show up the way that you need to. Because that's the difference between surviving this journey and leading it. And you can do it. Something else I want to bring up is how you start your morning determines how you show up for the rest of your day. I know what you do because I know what I used to do. You wake up, You grab your phones and you scroll through social media. And we flood our minds with negativity, comparison, the world telling us who we are instead of deciding that for ourselves. Just stop it. Make a plan to stop that right now. Claim that for yourself. Instead, start your day with affirmations. Before the world tells you what to think, you tell yourself what to think. And so affirmations for dementia caregivers. These are some that you can start with. And then I want you to develop your own affirmations that you're going to recite to yourself each morning, that you're going to claim are the truth about who you are. I am strong enough for today. I have the patience and wisdom to meet my loved one where they are. I choose to focus on progress, not perfection. I am doing enough. I am enough. I choose to respond with love and not fear. I hope you're writing those down. I want you to write those down, say them out loud, because you can do this. What you say to yourself, the language you say to yourself determines how you're going to show up for your life and how you're going to show up for their life. And you can do this, and you are enough. You are not a victim of this life. You are a victor, and you're going to lead this journey. So now go show up. Go show up as that person today. Love you guys. See you next time. That's it for today, Dementia Heroes. I hope this episode gave you a new way to see this journey, because when we change the way we see dementia, we change the way we respond to it. If this episode helped you, share it with another caregiver who needs a little encouragement today. Remember, you are not alone. You are enough. And you, my friend, are a dementia hero. Until next time, take a deep breath, give yourself some grace, and keep walking this journey one step at a time.